Lord, you have searched me and known me. You know when I sit down and when I rise up. You discern my thoughts from far away. You search out my path and my lying down, and are acquainted with all my ways. Even before a word is on my tongue, O Lord, you know it completely. You hem me in behind and before, and lay your hand upon me. Such knowledge is too wonderful for me. It is so high that I cannot attain it. One of the things that I know that I'm guilty of in my life of prayer is trying to use prayer to make me feel better, as opposed to using prayer as an entry point to dive into the depths of the emotions that I may be feeling at any given point. And especially those negative emotions, those emotions that we don't like to acknowledge or spend time with. Throughout our scriptures, especially in the Psalms, we oftentimes have writers give voice to their negative emotions, to their moments of despair and anguish. And it's there that they invite God into those places to know what it is that they are feeling and to allow God to be with them in those places. And that truly is an invitation for us in our lives of prayer to do the same. And that is what we are going to be focusing on in this prayer practice for the fourth week of Lent, which is praying with our emotions and allowing God to enter into the emotions and feelings that we have. And we're going to do it with the act of journaling and using words to give voice to how we may be feeling. I'll give you an example from my life in this last week. Last week, our youngest son, Micah, who's just about 6 months old, started at a part-time daycare. By Thursday evening, as is often the case with kids, he came home with a stuffy nose. And, of course, he had gotten sick. It was the first time he'd been out to be exposed to germs. And so, over the course of this weekend, within a day or two, of course, I began to get that same stuffy nose that Micah had. In this time of COVID, a stuffy nose is not just a stuffy nose anymore, but it leads to a lot of fear and anxiety over how I may be sick or what I may be sick with. At the same time, as we all experienced, we got a heavy, huge snowstorm that changed our schedules for these first days of the week. Our oldest son, Sam, didn't have school on Monday, and on Tuesday had to do remote learning from home again, as he has throughout the pandemic. Now, as parents, that means that our schedules have to change to now take care of 2 kids at home and help our oldest with learning. So my schedule changes and my wife's schedule changed, and we aren't able to do the things that we want. And on top of all of that, I'm still not feeling great. And so, by the time you get to a point in your week where you've had all of these things cause chaos or cause change in the day-to-day routine, your body could be filled with lots of emotions and feelings. And so I found myself in a place in the last couple days where I went to a tool that I often use, which is called a feeling wheel or an emotions wheel. It's a wheel that has all types of descriptors of different emotions and feelings that we as human beings have. In the middle of the wheel are some of the core emotions that are really easy to give voice to. You may recognize some of them from the characters in the Disney movie Inside Out. Is that there's joy and sadness, there's fear, disgust, and anger, the basic ones that we know when we're feeling those. But those are basic emotions. There's actually a lot of subtlety within the emotions that we feel. And so as you see on your screen, there's a feelings wheel with dozens and dozens of different words and descriptors. As I looked through the feelings wheel after all of these things that had happened in my past week, there was a word that resonated with me, and it was powerlessness. That I was powerless to getting sick. I was powerless to the snowstorm. I was powerless to the schedule changes that happen. And what it does when you give voice and name to that and perhaps begin to journal about it and pray about an emotion or a feeling or a word that may pop in to your vocabulary about how it is that you're feeling, it allows us to explore that with God and to ask what is really going on in my life. And when I found that word powerlessness, what I recognized is what I was seeking for was control. Control of the environment, control of my physical health, control of my day-to-day life. And what that really meant to me, as I probed even a little bit deeper with prayer, is that I wasn't just seeking control, but I was focused on me, as opposed to asking different questions, which is, how can I care for Micah while he's sick? How can I experience the joy of all of this snow with my son Sam? How can I nurture and care for my wife Angela, who is going through the same changes in her schedule and needs, and who's having to also give up work in order to care for the kids? And it drew me out of myself and drew me out of those places of emotion to be able to focus on how it is that I can love and care for others. And so what I encourage you to do today is, with whatever has happened in this last week that you've been going through, or perhaps the last few days, or even just in the last few hours, is to get out a little bit of a notebook, a little bit of a journal that you can write in, or perhaps that you could color or draw in. And if you want to use the feelings wheel, you can download it from the email that you got today with this video. And perhaps contemplate what feelings you may have and write them down into your journal. And begin to then take notes and journal about why it is you believe you are having those feelings, or what's leading to those feelings, and explore what those feelings are like for you. And then gently, as you have those words on the page, ask God to enter into your feelings with you. That the God who knows us completely does not stay away, but God enters into these vulnerable places with us to help give us insight and to help give us self-understanding of who we are and who it is that God is calling us to be from those places. Now, it may not make us feel better to do exercises like this, but I think we can learn about ourselves, and we can certainly pray to God knowing that God is with us, and ask God to help us understand about the feelings and emotions that we have each day and where they are coming from. I pray that this exercise may lead you into some interesting places of exploration as we continue through this season of Lent.
I want Jesus to walk with me. I want Jesus to walk with me all along my pilgrim journey. Lord, I want Jesus to walk with me. In my trials, Lord, walk with me. In my trials, Lord, walk with me. When my heart is almost breaking, Lord, I want Jesus to walk with me.